and healed them.
Please, stop.
You know there's nothing you can do to stop this.
I don't know how to live with this. I don't want to live with this.
Not an option you got.
Yes! Yes, there is. There is. There has to be. Because I can't do this. I can't.
I know it hurts right now, but you purging all that poison. Soon you can be your true self.
My true self? I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is!
That's because you're still holding in all the anger and sadness.
What do I do? Ah!
Right there, that's what you do. You let it out.
Ah! Amen. Ah!
Once you let it all go, then you can finally meet the real you.
Ah!
This ain't your death. Ellie, you've been reborn. The only thing that happened just now is that you finally faced the truth. You've been looking away from your whole life. And now that you know the truth, you can use it. Because once you've weathered a storm like yours, you become the storm.
But he answered and said unto them, Why do ye also transgress the commandment of God by your tradition? For God commanded, saying, Honor thy father and mother, and he that curseth father or mother, let him die the death. But ye say, Whosoever shall say to his father or his mother, It is a gift, by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me, and honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have ye made the commandment of God of none effect by your tradition. Ye hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy of you, saying, This people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth, and honoureth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. And he called the multitude and said unto them, Hear and understand. Not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man, but that which cometh out of the mouth, this defileth a man.
Slaves of a nameless god, once again I bring you the challenge of Goliath of Gath, champion of the Philistines. Where is your faith in your god? Where is your trust in his protection? Then let all the world bear witness. Where is your faith in your god? Where is your trust in his protection?
I would like to begin by stating that what Team Yahawashi is doing today is putting the globe on trial. Ronnie Harris and myself are acting as the prosecutors, and Red's Rhetoric and his partner are acting as the defendants in this trial, while the moderator is acting as the judge, and you, the listeners, are the jury. It is beyond our expectations that we will convince the defendants in this trial of their errors in logic and ask that you, the jury, weigh the evidence and convict the defendants of first-degree fraud against humanity. We will present as many evidences of such within the allotted time, but can assure the jury that our evidence is not limited and could span hundreds if not thousands of hours if given the opportunity. Globe Debunked number 1. No curvature. Due to the defendant's claim that we are on a sphere, there in fact has to be curvature. As shown here, for a globe of a radius of 3959 miles, the necessary formula for curvature is 8 inches per mile squared. While not perfect in its calculations, all heliocentric model supporters agree that there must be curvature, and that there must be at least this much, which means that at a distance of 30 miles, there must be at least 600 feet of drop from any observer at ground level. Because the burden of proof is on the globe for such claims, Team Yahawashi demands the defendants provide at least one location where the required amount of drop from an observer can be measured, that is testable, verifiable, and repeatable by all members of the jury. Keep in mind that this should not be difficult if we lived on a sphere, because this curvature should be found everywhere. Globe Debunked number 2. Water at rest is flat and level. Due to the testable, verifiable nature of water, we know that water always maintains level and is flat when at rest. In a glass of water, a bathtub, a lake, and an ocean, water rests level and flat. If water constitutes 71% of Earth's surface area, Earth being a sphere is impossible. If the defendant's claim is that the oceans cling to a sphere, such a claim must be demonstrated with a scaled experiment to have any credibility at any scale they suggest is correct. Globe Debunked number 3. The horizon rises to the eye level of the observer. As can be demonstrated by any 3D modeling program, if we were on a sphere, the horizon would always be beneath the feet of a person standing at sea level looking out over an ocean, and as that person gained altitude, the horizon would only get lower. This is true at any scale, and the scale suggested by heliocentric supporters is a sphere with a 3959 mile radius, requiring 600 feet of drop in 30 miles, 1,067 feet of drop in 40 miles, and 1,667 feet of drop in 50 miles. The highest observation deck of any building on Earth is the Burj Khalifa, checking in at 1,823 feet. A distance to the horizon calculator lets us know that at 1,823 feet, the horizon is 52.3 miles away. So in this image captured from the Burj Khalifa observatory deck, the distance of the clouds at the horizon is 52.3 miles, thus requiring at least 1,667 feet of drop. On a globe, that means that the furthest clouds we saw from the observation deck would be at least 1,667 feet below the observer at the shoreline. As you went up to the observation deck, the horizon would only go down. Yet the evidence shows that the higher you go, the horizon does not go down, but actually rises with the viewer. This can be demonstrated on a flat plane, but cannot be replicated with a sphere. Globe Debunked number 4. Gyroscopes on the ground and in airplanes do not process. Original gyroscopes used in air travel had no electronics and did not process throughout journeys. The gyroscope of an airplane unassisted by electronics would process 90 degrees with each quarter of the sphere traveled. The artificial horizon indicator would be upside down 180 degrees, having flown half the circumference of a globe Earth. For the defendants to claim sphericity, they must demonstrate both an unelectronically assisted gyroscope process a full 360 degrees during a circumnavigational flight and throughout a full rotation of Earth from the ground. Globe Debunked number 5. Earth is motionless. For Earth to rotate with the motions defined by heliocentrism, we could feel acceleration and deceleration as demonstrated in this experiment. Not only do we not feel, nor can we measure any acceleration and deceleration, but Ares failed to detect any movement of Earth whatsoever. We demand the defendants provide measurable, repeatable evidence for the acceleration, deceleration, and movement of Earth, without which the heliocentric model has no basis for any explanation regarding sunrise, sunset, and the seasons. Globe Debunked number 6. Rivers. Rivers debunk the possibility that we live on a sphere. A video I published August 24, 2016 defines the experiment that anyone can do. That video is a result of me personally living on a river and experiencing a historic flood. As a result of the flood, I became deeply aware that my house sat 400 feet above sea level. I measured the distance from my house to the coast in a straight path with Google Earth and discovered my house was 143 miles from the coast where the river I live on empties into the Gulf of Mexico. The required curvature for 143 miles is 13,632 feet, minus the 400 feet elevation, and the river is 13,232 feet below an observer positioned at the point where the river empties into the Gulf, and it can be documented that the water has been flowing downhill until it got to the Gulf. That means that the water has to be running uphill 13,232 feet from my house to get to the coast. The only explanation that has ever been given for how this could be possible is gravity. In order for the explanation to have any merit as evidence, the defendants must provide a scaled experiment where they can replicate water on a sphere flowing uphill into another body of water larger its size. And the model must allow scaled versions of insects and clouds and air currents to perform the way we observe. Now I'm going to present the map and model which I feel the jury will agree conforms to the witness observations of our reality. It can be said that no map is an accurate projection of a globe, which is true. It can also be said that no globe is an accurate projection of a flat map. Based on our conclusions reached by these 6 globe debunks and many others, we have concluded that there is no evidence that we live on a sphere that is testable, verifiable, and repeatable by members of the jury. As a result, one would expect to find an actual map of Earth that is not a projection. Our search for that map was guided by the knowledge of there being 2, not just 1 point of celestial rotation that many flat earthers have been duped into believing. Knowing what we were looking for led us to the C.S. Pierce Oblique Mercator 1894. We have since found more modern versions that employ the same stereographic layout and have turned them to the same orientation as the C.S. Pierce Oblique Mercator 1894. The creators of this map say that it is the most accurate map of Earth, while still suggesting that there may be distortion as a result of no map being able to project to a sphere, but we maintain that Earth is flat, therefore there should be no distortions. The map conforms to known landmass sizes, shapes, positions, and distances between. The stereographic lines of latitude and longitude eliminate the need for a compass declination map and show how dead reckoning direct routes is achieved without the use of room lines. Note how standard compass declination maps flip from east to west in Antarctica. This is explained by Antarctica being divided in 2 better than by Antarctica being a single landmass at the bottom of a globe, where the North Pole, which is the only thing ever measured, would be pulling the needle towards the center of Earth. Direct flight paths plotted on this map become great circle routes when this map is projected to a sphere, and explain the reason navigators would have to use room lines to back engineer globe-based maps back to this one. The only argument we have heard against this map is that it requires a person traveling from California to Japan to jump from one side of the map to the other, which seems like a large problem for most because it requires a different explanation for our reality. When considering these stereographic maps, I had the advantage of knowing that I was in a simulation long before Flat Earth came along, so I was not hindered by this seeming issue. From grade school on, we have all understood what happens when you get to the edge of a map. You go over to the other side at the same latitude. For the person that knows or is considering Earth as flat, there has to be a flat map that has all the land sizes, orientations, and positions that match what can be plotted by the use of latitude and longitude. This map presented conforms to all of these. It is our expectation that the defendants will want to attack the validity of this map based on our not having evidence for the transitioning of an observer from one side of the map to the other at the international dateline. We would like to remind every member of the jury that the heliocentric model requires everything that exists to have exploded from nothing. No experiment has ever demonstrated something being derived from nothing. Therefore, we ask that intellectually driven individuals focus their examinations to matters that are verifiable and replicable. In the matter of moving from one side of the map we promote to the other side, we state clearly that we say we are in a simulation and that we have many other evidences evidences of such. We submit the Atari 1979 game Asteroids as evidence of how moving from one side of a map to the other in a game environment can be replicated. A key simulation proof that is highly relevant to the topic of the shape of the Earth is clouds behind the sun. A search on YouTube for clouds behind the sun produces thousands of results. Clouds behind the sun has been filmed by many different people everywhere on Earth. A search for clouds behind the sun debunked only yields a couple results, each of which is easily discredited. First, it is said that they are debunked because of high altitude footage that shows the sun above the clouds. We have demonstrated that the distance the sun is rendered to us is based on our observation height. At high altitudes, the sun has the largest radial path around the observer, and the observer is already well above the clouds, so there is no expectation of seeing clouds behind the sun. The next debunk is fraudulent and uses overlays to cover the areas that clouds can be clearly seen behind the sun. And finally, McWest, who is a Globe Earth supporter who was defeated in debate by Nathan Oakley, demonstrates a faulty experiment, and he has to have the comments disabled because of the criticism of his experiment's faulty design and conclusions. It is clearly not the brightness of the sun passing through some cloud layers and not others, because we can see something as small as a bird flying across the disk of the sun. Lastly, crepuscular and anti-crepuscular rays give accurate triangulation to the sun, and the distance to the source of light can be calculated accurately based on our observed distance to the horizon. Not only the globe, but the actual nature of what we consider to be reality has been put on trial, and Ronnie James Harris and myself, Jason William Laufenberg, are not only acting as the prosecutors in this trial, but we maintain that we are the two witnesses spoken of in the Bible, and that part of our ministry is exposing the great deception of the heliocentric lie.
The next piece of evidence I submit to the jury is that if the Earth were a spinning globe, spinning around the sun once per year, then every 6 months, if not every 3 months, the opposing side of the Earth would be facing away from the sun. Therefore, we should see different stars and different constellations throughout the entire 12-month year. But this is not true, and this leads to the fact that the Earth is stationary, and it is the stars that move around us. Ladies and gentlemen, and members of the esteemed jury, I now bring forth the evidence that Red's rhetoric used against Jeranism. This is an image that was created by Soundly. We can clearly see that when we draw a line across the horizon, that the left side and the right side of the waterline do not match. This does not comport with reality, let alone the fact that to see the supposed curvature of Earth from the estimated size, we would have to be over 35,000 feet in the air. Anybody who submits fake, falsified evidence should not be allowed to testify in this court. It is well documented, due to the radius and the circumference of the supposed ball Earth, that you cannot see curvature anywhere from the ground. So anyone who submits CGI falsified evidence will be called out and exposed as a charlatan and should be shamed from the community. Our circle of sight is a fixed distance where visually our horizon meets the sky and runs 360 degrees all around us. Any objects beyond our circle of sight will be hidden depending on their height and our height above the flat Earth. The height and altitude is definitely what determines the distance we can see. We will demonstrate without a shadow of doubt that ships and buildings that sail and that are located beyond our visual horizon line will be obscured due to the limited field of view, not due to any curvature. This is only proof positive that we live on a flat plane. So as the ship approaches our circle of sight, its sail, being the tallest point with the largest field of view, begins to rise above our horizon line. The closer the ship approaches our center point of field of view, the more and more of the ship will be seen until the ship has become entirely visible. This is not due to refraction or curvature. This is simply due to the functions of our circles of sight. Likewise, therefore, as the ship sails away from our circle of sight, the same action is applied. The sail will be the last thing that we'll be able to see, due to the fact that our horizon line and the distance to the edge of our field of view is the demarcator line and the point in which objects are obstructed. So again, I repeat to the jury, the tallest part of the ship, the top of the mast, has the largest field of view. When that point has then crossed our horizon line, the ship will become entirely invisible. I now submit unto the jury a video by BD Cave Dweller. The purpose of this evidence is to reconfirm the prediction that our fixed field of view is the reason we see ships and buildings obstructed beyond our horizon. In this footage that will be linked below, we see the ship as beyond our circle of sight, and we predict that if we were to rise our elevation, we would then see the entirety of the ship with no evidence of curvature. So now that BD has driven up to a higher vantage point, if the Earth were a ball, the hump of water that Red's model predicts that obstructs the ship would be greatly enhanced. This is not what we see. Just as predicted, we have only enlarged our field of view, and now we can see the entire ship out in the middle of a flat bay, and zero curvature is detected. I submit that our observations at the circle of sight again holds up in court as proof that our reality is indeed a flat plane. Now, I submit one last video as evidence that a ball earther has filmed with his drone, and again, the drone rises in altitude, and we then see more of the Salt Lake City, due to the larger field of view as predicted with the rise in elevation. Thank you, ball earther.
I want to deal with Wolfie's clip that he posted on the internet, right? We showed a ship, right, in the front and a ship behind, right? So what's wrong with this image? Wolfie's claiming that this is real. So I'm going to have a look at this, right? That you can see a ship behind the horizon, dropping below. And then he has the cheek of saying that his clip makes flat earthers look stupid. It makes him look stupid.
So again, we bring to the table more evidence that ball earth believers have tried to CGI footage in support of their faith. Yet after scrutiny and testing, we find that the evidence used to support their faith does not match reality in any way, and should be stricken from the jury's findings due to the clear evidence that it does not match reality. The full video from my perspective will be linked below. I now submit to the jury the working map of our reality. This map both works as a ball or a flat plane. This is the oblique stereographic map and has nearly no distortions, even at the poles. Moreover, esteemed members of this hearing, I bring to your attention that this is touted as the most accurate map ever created. Link will be below. This map makes predictions in the very same manner that anyone trying to use a globe projection could bring to the court. Now, what's even more interesting is that room lines and dead reckoning paths created through plotting straight paths when projected onto imaginary globe become great circle routes, as would be predicted if our reality is truly a flat plane. We submit that the Earth is observably and measurably flat, and